Let there be light.
Ceci n'est pas une.
Do you feel its warmth? Does it light your path? No. Have you seen this image too often? Has it lost its meaning for you? Is this a candle? Is this an image? Is this a sound?
I am Lucifer, bringer of light, Prometheus, stealer of fire. I am the knower, the known, and the knowing, the mask of God. Lucifer falling into Adam forgetting. I am that which seeks my opposite. I am all things to all men. I am that I am.
And I, all these things to all women and more. I am Pandora, bringer of knowledge. I am the oracle, the weaver of fate. I am all that there is, that ever was, that ever will be. I am that which answers, that which seeks.
Wanting to see meaning in all things, people saw God, and those, not wanting to be seduced by the world, put out their eyes and stopped light coming into their souls. But they still heard, so they destroyed their hearing. Still they felt, so they tore off their skins, put out their tongues, cut off their noses. But still they thought with their minds.
And Prometheus wept.
In a state of bondage, there is only the seduction of the spirit. Each knows when and how it occurs. The only wrong done is to the self, without beginning and without end.
Pandora knew that in the world, each self-image is a collision with reality, a jarring of the soul. Each sound creates a wound. Each image a shard of light cutting the blackness.
Lucifer falling into shards of light, the great sacrifice of all eternity, the selfless act, each refracting, reflecting, light-giving fragment, a self-conscious existence in all this great darkness of the womb of God.
And in all of this, there are only two things to do: the necessary and the impossible.
And these two are inevitable.
When I look, I see, and when I see, I become filled. For when I look, I in fact see, and when I seek and see, I am finding.
When I listen, I hear, and when I hear, I become filled. For when I listen, I am hoping, and if I hear, hope is fulfilled.
These two senses, unlike the other senses, require effort, and effort to look, to listen, by its nature, is a kind of striving. Now the world is filled with images, both of serendipity and our construction. The images we construct are powerful images, all-pervading images, unrelenting images, merciless images.
Voices of the dispossessed, the quiet voices, are not heard above the clamor for attention, the hubbub, the clamor of baser forces, baser instincts unleashed in our modern world. But the quiet voices are resilient. They linger on and hide themselves in the sound of the wind, the breaking of the waves, the rumble of the earth sleeping. Listen. Listen.
most elegantly formulated equation, Einstein offered the definition of energy
For are not all things transformable into energy?
as mass multiplied by the speed of light, E equals mc squared.
Bring out our light.
He said, absolute mass is the still state of all energy, and the movement of matter at the speed of light therefore transforms matter into energy. Light does not just have velocity in one direction, it expands spherically in all directions. E equals mc squared.
Fragments.
It is instant, without duration, timeless. The nonsense legend, the Big Bang, finds one end of the universe closed and the other end open to infinity.
A person an instant before death weighs the same as a person during the moment of death and a moment after death. Something weightless has departed, something non-physical, something that is energetic.
Lucifer.
With a newborn, something weightless was come into being, into the process of becoming aware of itself. When it dies, it simply frees itself from the process and necessity of self-awareness. What we can't reasonably speculate about is the state of energy before and after the process of being. But we do know that E equals mc squared.
Here is a great mystery.
Sacrifice. Why sleep if you do not wish to dream? Stay awake, artist. Do not give in to sleep, lest you become eternity's hostage and the prisoner of time.
Something that is only a personal expression within another's framework cannot be termed a creation. Creation is not the arrangement of objects and forms. It is the invention of new laws.
Like electron microscopes looking into eternity, we see only electrons. And what are electrons, if not reality itself?
These are the tools we use to see the world. The way we see the world produces the ways in which we make sense of the world, which in turn produces the designs of the tools with which we see. This is a way of looking at the world.
As artists, our position is that of combatants between two worlds. One that we don't acknowledge, the other that does not yet exist. One of the first thoughts was that the key was sexual. Then we thought the key was power. Now we know that these are only parts of the puzzle. Now we know that there are many potential, shall we say, archetypes waiting to come into play.
We believed in the mind. We had faith in its separateness. We located our ideas in the history of ideas and found corresponding ideas in the past. We no longer dismiss the synthesis of ideas of the mythic world, the world of stories, the world of analogy, of totems, of symbols.
Narcissus was a beautiful but self-centered individual, and he drew many people to him and spurned them easily when he wanted them no more. A youth whom Narcissus had spurned prayed to Nemesis, goddess of justice, who arranged that Narcissus should stop to drink on the heights of Mount Helicon. The youth he had rejected was more affected than most. Fatefully, our youth was, so to speak, brother to Narcissus. So to be spurned affected him as it would Narcissus himself, were he to be spurned. On Mount Helicon, Narcissus became thirsty. He scooped some water from a pool and drank. Nemesis smiled her grim smile. Glancing into the water, Narcissus fell in love with his own image and lay down beside the pool. He had become fascinated.
I've often wondered about what is real and what is not. It seems to me that what I can touch is real. At the same time, I know that what I believe in can give me pleasure, or it can give me pain. This I know. But I am fascinated by the possibility of an interior life. I close my eyes and see colours and shapes shifting at their own pace through the screen of my mind. If I wait long enough, I begin to approach the boundaries of sleep. I've always wanted to cross that boundary consciously. I know that when I dream, I'm involved in a different set of relationships with the world than those I normally have. My attitude changes. Somehow, all things become possible.
Zeus persuaded Echo to chatter to Hera so that he could dally with the other nymphs. Echo was more than glad to help the king of all the gods whenever she could. Of course, Zeus had not told her the complete truth. He had simply allowed Echo's naivety in matters of this kind to innocently occupy Hera's time. Though initially enjoying Echo's vitality, as with all things, Hera eventually became irritated by Echo's constant gossiping. Becoming suspicious, Hera, by godlike intuition, realized what was the root of Echo's talking and caused her a strange malady. She could no longer begin a conversation, but only repeat the words of others.
What perplexes me is that we came into this world without blame, then we accepted it as an unwelcome gift, and then we have other gifts. I seem to have various faculties that enable me to examine the minutiae of existence. What she feels, what he feels, what I am feeling. Yet, this perceptual, one might almost say, intuitive apparatus only works at the level at which we live, the mundane. But what draws us onward, or me at least, is the very thought that there might be a supramundane, something else other than our own way of seeing. I sometimes feel that someone is speaking to me, over my shoulder, trying to warn me.
Banished from the home of the gods, Echo wandered upon Mount Helicon. She came upon Narcissus, and like all the others, fell in love with him. The youth seemed fascinated with his gently undulating image in the pool. He didn't acknowledge Echo. She tried to speak to him, saying, "It is only your image. Your words are lost. Speak to me, for I can respond." But Hera's art was such that Echo's emotion was placed in her echoing of Narcissus's words to himself, so that it seemed, in fact, that his image was replying. This hurt Narcissus. Here was the person he had always been looking for, taunting him. He couldn't tear himself away from his image. By charms, she could not interrupt him, but only repeat his words to himself, which inflamed and further enslaved him. She was desolate, and he was desolate. Narcissus finally died from unrequited love, and the flower that we now call the Narcissus arose from the spot where he died. As for Echo, she faded away sick with love, until only her voice remained to haunt the mountain.
Listen. Can you hear her? She has made a great sacrifice. Somewhere in the darkness, in the huge vista that is our mind, she is repeating everything we say back to ourselves. She can only repeat what she hears, but she can play with the sounds. She can speak slowly and quietly, or she can rage at us. And he is ever present. He only hears himself. He speaks and constantly reiterates his position. I am at the center of the universe. I.
It's an interesting problem we have here. Everything in the world, this group agreement about what is and what is not, denies everything that has meaning to us in life. We are fascinated by the amphitheater of our experience, and we do its bidding, this reality, with commitment. What greater commitment have we than the destruction of the globe? What half-hearted commitment do we have for its salvation? I feel, from the presence of my shoulder, that I should have a greater commitment to this interior world. Perhaps then some truth will be shown to me.
It is in the very nature of the senses that we apportion meaning. That straining to hear is in fact the ordering of things to project the meaning implicit in ourselves. In listening to the silence, we will hear the crying in the wilderness. It is our own voice returning to us. Our souls say, "Ego, listen." It is in the very nature of seeing images that we see the archetypes, those parts of ourselves addressing that which does not listen, but only sees itself.
Nemesis, being a god, knew that Narcissus was only seeking to complement himself, to find his other half.
For are we not all the actual looking for the potential?
And Narcissus was moved more strongly than others in his search for perfection. Echo, however, was naive, innocent, and selfless. She only sought his completion, and would have been completed in this. So in a sense, Nemesis was unjust. But the acts of the gods are beyond the understanding of mortals, and no doubt are full of justice in their own realm. Narcissus is a beautiful image, Echo a beautiful sound. Each finds meaning from seeking, and the pain of desiring self-fulfillment or self-knowledge. For now they are sought by others who only wish to observe or listen to their beauty, not to possess it, or themselves to be possessed by it.
Bring her even light.
Narcissus is image, and Echo is sound. The one states its truths, and the other comments on its ideas. We find the two existing, or at least their semblance existing, in the world around us. This is the judgment that Nemesis, goddess of compensation, ruled for eternity. This is the judgment that Zeus and Hera, king and queen of the gods, approved of. In the alchemical marriage of Echo and Narcissus, the two that are separate are unified, and in the transformation of old ideas, the birth of the new, there is no force irresistible, no object immovable. So we go forward into the very mechanism of fear, for in that darkness lay the truth of our searching. We must accomplish the impossible, because it is necessary.
And in the darkness,
Ceci n'est pas une.
do you feel its warmth? Does it light your path? No. Have you seen this image too often? Is it losing its meaning for you?
For those that watch and listen, for those eyes adjusted to the dim light, everything appears without color. Yet, when the searchlight of our imagination sweeps across the endless vistas, brighter because it has more to illuminate, we receive as a gift the inevitability of color.
These gods of the unconscious, of past epochs, are passing. There are greater truths possible as other gods awaken, Using the mind, the sense that colors, we can perceive the nature of light, hear the nuances of meaning, the subtleties of touch, the poetry of taste, the fragrance of smell.
We can hear the hearing, see the seeing, taste the tasting, touch the touching.
And behind all this, the unifying sense that attributes meaning.
You.